Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards.
Mark Mason.
Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Now is the time to live the life of your dreams and do the work you feel most called to do in the world.
Welcome to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
That's right, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And I can actually tell you this is episode number 571. But technically, it might have, should have been, could have been episode 573, 574. But the reality is I've made an executive decision on the spot, and that's one of the benefits of being full-time self-employed, owning your own business, making your own decisions on the fly about what you want to do with your content strategy. And the reality is that this is the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, and one of the biggest gripes that people have had about this podcast in the past, back when it was called Podcast Answer Man, was that this guy, Cliff Ravenscraft, talks about himself so much. And I finally said, I'll deal with this. People can't complain about Cliff Ravenscraft talking about himself all the time if it is, in fact, the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And when I made that brand transition, I lost a significant portion of my audience. And I say, okay, I'm not happy about it. I believe that, I really wish I could have retained those people that for longer, that they would have taken more time to get to know what it is that I'm trying to communicate, and that they would see the value that the people who remained actually get out of this content. But it is what it is. The cool thing is that since making the brand transition, there were people who made the jump immediately. And I want to say this accurately without overestimating, about every other week, I get at least one email from somebody who used to listen to me years ago, who bailed instantly when I started my health and fitness journey and started talking more about me in this podcast, which happened, by the way, about the same time as I shut down Pursuing a Balanced Life, which was an audio journal, if you will, for, almost 8 years, I think, or 10 years. Anyway, so when I started talking about me, they jumped, but every other week I get at least one email of somebody who says, Cliff, I was a listener years ago, and quite frankly, I quit because you stopped talking about the technology of podcasting. But lately, I've had some things going on in my life, and I'm still connected with people who are connected to you, and I'm hearing them say things about you that I never would have attributed to you. And I've been tuning in, and I've really liked what I've heard. So I say all that to say that, I've talked and shared in this podcast about identity crisis, especially when it comes to how do I position myself in the world through the content that I create. And I've been very happy with the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. This podcast, people ask me today, they said, so Cliff, how many podcasts do you have right now? And I'm happy. It delights me to say I have one. It's it's so freeing. It's the one piece of advice where I was a hypocrite when I was a podcast coach and consultant. I always told people, hey, you should only have one podcast. But Cliff, you have 7. I know, and trust me, there are reasons why I'm telling you only want one. And today I only have one, and it's a show where I can come and do whatever I want, share whatever I want, and I've been doing that. And occasionally people say, Cliff, more than occasionally, every day I get an email, hey, I have somebody who would be a great guest, or somebody who emailed me, Cliff, I would be a great guest on your podcast. And I'm like, I do not do an interview format podcast. I actually hate them. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But the reality is that right before Free the Dream, I made a decision to feature each of the speakers. And I talked about this last week, so I'm not going to rehash everything, except for the fact that prior to this very moment in time, I have 2 1-hour-plus interviews on my recorder with members of the Next Level Mastermind. Actually, one's a member of the Next Level Mastermind. One is a gentleman that I've done a bunch of other work with throughout the years. And they could have easily been released last week, but instead of releasing a high-quality audio production conversation with somebody that I intended to be a conversation but ended up being an interview, it really did, prior than taking high quality audio content and publishing that out to you guys, I took my digital audio recorder and drove in my 1974 Beetle, and I didn't realize until after I was doing the post-production that it's got the clippiest, most destructive audio ever. But you know what? People resonated with it, and they said, "Cliff, this is the content I love from you. It's that authentic, it's real, it's you." And so the thing is I felt like as I wanted to start to feature some of the people that I'm doing life with through the products and services that I create and the life change I see happening in their lives, I wanted to feature them, quite frankly, to introduce you guys to people who are making a difference in my life, because these people, well, they are. And also, it's a great way to get an idea of who is it that actually is paying Cliff Ravenscraft all of this money. And you can see that there are real human beings out there paying top dollar to be a part of high-priced products and services, and they're excited about the return on investment. And that's another reality of why I wanted to feature some of these conversations. But the reality is that I'm learning I'm no Guy Raz. Now, for those of you who don't know who Guy Raz is, he's the guy who does How I Built This. All right. And I love this podcast. If you've never heard of How I Built This, go check it out. And I subscribe to Guy Raz, and I am excited and elated every single time I see that there's a new unheard episode of Guy Raz interviewing someone, except for the fact that I realize that I delete every episode of a company or a CEO that he interviews that I've never heard of before, because I have no interest in hearing how somebody built something I've never heard of before. And then I got to thinking, it's like, wait a second. With Free the Dream, most of the speakers that I featured, people had heard of before, and so there's a lot of interest in getting to know some of those stories. But this is not a put down, but some of the people that I've want to interview here, they're not people that will be on most people's radar. And so to hear the origin story of somebody you've never heard of before, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I can tell you that I find myself completely disinterested in it. Now, I've enjoyed the conversations that I've recorded with these individuals, including the two that have not yet been released. But if I put myself in your shoes, quite frankly, I would be disinterested in this episode. In fact, I've heard from a few of you because I've asked, what do you guys think? And they say, well, I just delete the ones that I don't find interesting. And yes, the ones that you've recently done, I've deleted. But man, I was so excited to hear you in your car, I could care less about the audio quality. So with that being said, I want to feature our guest today, Rohn Gibson. But Rohn and I are not going to do an interview. We had a conversation beforehand. Rohn, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. How about you, sir?
I've never been better. It gets better every single day. So, Rohn, welcome to my non-interview format podcast.
Awesome. Good to be here.
Where I am not going to interview you at all. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you guys that I love Rohn Gibson. He is a member of the Next Level Mastermind. He is somebody that I will say, and I've never said these words to him, and I'm actually looking at him on Zoom right now, and so I'll get to see his facial reaction as I say these words. When Rohn joined as a member of the Next Level Mastermind group, it instantly changed the trajectory of my focus on who I bring into the group from that point forward. In such that I felt like now it's okay for me to take people who have been full-time self-employed for 30 plus years, who are extremely successful, who quite frankly make more money annually from their full-time self-employed career than I do, that prior to Rohn being in the group, I may have been intimidated about whether or not I would add enough value for them to be a part of the group. But when Rohn came in, and I saw that he was going to be here for a while and be sticking around, I'm like, yeah, now I can tell these people, yes, you want to, and you don't want just to be in any group. You want to be in the morning session of the Next Level Mastermind. Rohn, when I say those words, what do you think?
It blows my mind, because I think I feel the same way about you, just having this enormous opportunity to hang out with you every week, as well as the other people in the group. And honestly, I feel undeserving of those comments in a lot of ways, just because I've learned so much from you and the other people in the group since being on this journey. So it's a blessing. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that, I'm glad that I was able to help you expand the mental horizon, I guess, on the types of people that you can add tremendous value to, because you've added tremendous value to my life. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And I think this is a great topic for, and by the way, this is not an interview. I just want to say this for those who are listening. This is not an interview. I told Ron, I said, listen, this is going to be more like what you've heard in the past, where I bring Mark Mason on or Ray Edwards. These are friends of mine, and we're just going to talk about things we would have talked about had there been no recorder. And we're not, and I'm not going to talk about it in a way that would be different than if there was no recording of this conversation. Except for the fact that I am sometimes going to talk to the audience, which in fact just completely obliterates that whole statement. But anyway, with as much integrity as possible, let's continue. So, Ron, why would I say that? So let me tell you what I'm thinking when I say those words. The reality is that I know that I've done some incredible things in life. And there's an episode of the podcast Answer Man. Who am I talking about? There's an episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft show. And I'm going to look for it. It's episode number. How confident are you? It's episode 539. So if people go to mindsetanswerman.com/539, the title of the episode is "How Confident Are You in the Value That You Offer?" And that was recorded back in March of 2018. And if anybody listens to episode 539, they will know that I am very confident in the amount of value that I bring to the table for me to be able to charge the kind of rates that I charge. But when I say that, I was still a little hesitant about the consistent ongoing value. It's like, man, I know I've accomplished a lot. I know I've done some amazing things in my business. I know that I've made big leaps. I've made career transitions. I've made big life transitions in my life, and I know there's so much that I have to offer. However, there have been so many things that I could have, and we could debate whether or not I should have done in my business over the years that would have caused me to have amazing breakthrough success. That it would even, believe it or not, guys, I still have struggles and obstacles today in my business. Most of them are self-imposed because I completely shut down a complete brand that I built for 12 years and started over from scratch. But the reality is that if I would have done some of the things that I knew I should have done, could have done, would have done, had I done them, I would have had millions of dollars in my bank. There are friends of mine who did do the things that I should have done, and they're in a different place financially than I am. And the things that they're doing, quite frankly, are the things that Ron's an expert at. And Ron, tell me who you are and what you do for people that are listening.
Yeah, so I'll try to make this concise. So again, I'm Ron Gibson, and I own 3 different businesses. My first business is I own a digital marketing firm called Rocket Hog, and we work with clients all over the country, helping them optimize and grow their business utilizing the tools of digital marketing. So that's one segment of my business. Another business that I started is a software business and called Church Spring, and we work with churches all over the country and now up into Canada, basically helping them launch and manage their church website so they can focus more on the ministry aspect. So with that tool, they can literally launch their church website in 90 seconds flat. We built it actually for my mother-in-law, who was 70 years old at the time, so she could launch and manage her own church website. My father-in-law is a pastor. So I've got that business. And then the third tier, thanks to you, as well as Ray Edwards, I also do business mentoring and coaching. And that's been awesome. I think through this journey with you, being in the Next Level Mastermind, one of the things that you really encouraged us to do was get into the book called The Big Leap, and really understanding what's my zone of genius. What is that thing that God, what I would attribute my zone of genius? Well, it's what God really created me for, and that is mentoring and coaching. So I launched that business. Well, actually, I should say this: I haven't really officially launched that business, and I'm a little bit of ashamed to say that. However, I do have people who are paying me, who meet with me on a weekly basis in the mastermind, and have seen radical transformation in their life. And it is one of just the most rewarding things that I do. So that's just a little bit about about me.
Well, I would say that you have started that business. I'm going to argue with you, Ron, for just a moment.
That's good. Argue, please.
So my argument is that, do you know how many businesses out there, quote unquote, are in business? They officially set up all their federal ID numbers. They have their business checking and banking account. They've invested in a logo. And they have a website, and they have content. They're producing like mad. I mean, they produce like, there are people out there who, Ron, have businesses that produce 5x the amount of content that you and I could ever produce together. All right? So, and yet they are making zero money from products and services, but they are in business. They've launched their business.
That's a really good point. All three of those businesses, I did not have a website up for them before we had our first customers.
Exactly.
So, yeah, isn't it funny the mindset that we put ourselves of these hurdles we have to jump through before we quote unquote have our business launched? And I guess that's what I just did, which is funny because I encourage people not to do that. But so easy to fall into that trap.
Well,
it's
a belief system, and belief systems are thoughts and emotions that we condition over time, that are repeated so many times that we're conditioned that, yeah, I feel certain that this is true, that you are quote-unquote not in business until you've created a website with a logo, with a landing page where people can sign up. And that is so, matter of fact, that step, of course, you've been through the 11-step formula for building an online business that I teach. That's step 8, but you already have successfully navigated to step 7. And as soon as you get to step 7, you are, in my mind, you're in business. And that's step 7 is you've created a product that reaches an exact ideal target audience or an exact ideal customer that you want to work with. You've identified the problem that they have that they would love to pay for to have solved. And it's a problem that you can and want to solve. And so you've not only discovered their problem, but you know the pains associated to that problem, and you know what language that they use. And you've taken that information and say, well, here's a solution I've created. And right now it's a one-on-one coaching or mentoring, and it's this mastermind group. No sales page, no website, doesn't matter. The reality is you have paying clients. This is a validated business. I love it.
So, it is, and it's the really cool thing about that whole process is I would have never gotten there without the Next Level Mastermind and the encouragement that you've given along the way. And I would have never, it's nice to be, I'm 40 years old, just turned 40. And for me to be at that age and to have found the thing that I feel like I was created for, and then I could do the rest of my life, that's such a gift. So, to the point of the dollars that I've invested and the return that I'm getting back on that, I mean, that alone, without the other financial side, just being in that place in my own journey, it was worth 100 times what I've invested. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. The interesting thing is that, okay, so I want to take our conversation in two different directions at the same time, and I'm trying to
awesome.
Which one's the chicken, which one's the egg. So I want to go back to what shifted in my mind when it came to the value that the mastermind group would bring to people who maybe have more experience in business than I do. And it's what really intrigued me with you, Ron, is your experience in the digital marketing agency that you do. The fact that you have all of this experience in sales funnels. So when I talk about the things that I coulda, shoulda, woulda done, the reality is I operated this business from officially full-time self-employed from January 2008 through October 2010 without an email list. Zero. Not one. I mean, I had, okay, so I did have High Rise and I had some emails in a database, but not once did I ever send a broadcast email out to anyone, no autoresponders and all of that stuff. And so in October 2010, I create my very first ever email list. And I put an opt-in form on my website. Now, Ron, to this day, I've never given an incentive to sign up for my thing. And when I say an incentive, I'm talking about some kind of free gift that's irresistible, quick win that anybody who saw it's like, oh yeah, of course I'll give Cliff Ravenscraft my email address to get that free thing. No, my email opt-in, it literally said this: please, if you would like to be notified of the next time I have a new product or service or the occasional discount, please enter your name and email address below. and roughly translated into everyday English, that's if you'd like to be notified of the next time I have something to sell you, give me your name and email address. And over the course of several years, I had over 2,500 people who opted into that. And then it wasn't until about a year and a half ago, okay, now it's 2 years, because I keep saying a year and a half for like a half a year, and it's now 2 years. So about 2 years ago, I changed it. I said, I'm going to come up with an incentive, but my incentive isn't that irresistible quick win. My incentive is I'm going to give you the best tips, techniques, strategies, and tools related to podcasting, things that people have paid me thousands of dollars for. Every single Friday, I'm giving it away for free in a podcast development newsletter. That was my incentive. So actually, my weekly update was my incentive, if you will. But it's still not the traditional quick win thing, right? Except for the fact that if I would have actually packaged and marketed the first update, which you get instantly, technically that would have enticed them to give me the thing anyway. So what I'm saying, though, is that I've never really did much until about 2 years ago with my email list that made much sense. And then I decided to shut down my podcast business. And I waited, I think, another 7 months before I started up my new newsletter, which is now more, it's kind of like, at first I was calling it Confessions of a Content Creator, just internally. These are just my random thoughts in my vlog that I've been sharing, just off the cuff things. Most people would never speak these things out loud, but this is what I think on a daily basis. That kind of stuff in my newsletter. And then some other, teaching, training, mindset related stuff. And now it's just the Cliff Ravenscraft, weekly newsletter. But still to this day, I don't have one of those targeted instant, oh my gosh, everybody's got to have this, so I'm getting like 700 new emails on my list every day. There's nothing that I could actually send a Facebook ad to cold traffic to have them land on my newsletter squeeze page and get them to sign up. But this is what you're an expert at. You've built businesses from scratch, from cold traffic. Tell me an example of how businesses could be doing things. Not necessarily should, but could be doing things. Let's just say I'm the podcast answer man in 2010, and I just set up my brand new email newsletter. If I had you as a mentor back then and I followed through on your advice, what could I have done to turn my business into millions of dollars in my bank account at this point?
Well, I think the most important thing as we talk about any of this, whether it's digital marketing tactics and strategies and tools and what could have been done, is the understanding that it's always about relationships. So whenever we start talking anything very tactical, I always try to remind my clients that never forget there's a person on the other end of that computer that you're trying to communicate with. So don't get so blown away by the what you can do and the tools and what all they can do. Always be focused on the other person on the other side of that computer. So what I would have recommended is what I recommend to my clients even now, which is create a really valuable piece of content like you alluded to. Some people call that a lead magnet. And it's a piece of content that has high value, that's really targeted specifically to a specific niche market. So for example, I'll give the example of somebody wanting to start a consulting business. So one of the things that I'm doing, and I'll just share my personal experience, is when I started my agency, I went from 0 customers to over 6 figures in contracts in less than 6 months.
Say that again. I want people to hear that, because if I were listening to the podcast, I may have heard you say those things, and numbers can I just blow by me. So state that again. And we're talking about your digital marketing agency that you started from scratch.
Yes. So when I started Rocket Hog out of my basement, we had 0 clients. And in less than 6 months, we generated over 6 figures, actually multiple 6 figures in contracts. So there are tools and resources that we developed to be able to accomplish that. And those tools and resources make great lead magnets. So for example, one of the things that I'm in the process of doing right now is making the cold email sequences. So we're not talking about spamming people. There's a difference between correct cold email and sending mass emails, which is spam. But sending cold emails where it's focused on adding value and focused on building a relationship. So I've written multiple cold email sequences. So for example, if I'm going to grow my mentoring business where I'm going to help unfulfilled, burned out professionals who want flexibility and their freedom to live the life they were created to live, Well, I have some amazing tools that can help them get quick wins to get them on the path to be able to do that. So one of the lead magnets would be, which I am going to give away even for free on the show today, is the exact cold email sequence that I use to generate multiple six figures in contracts in less than 6 months. So there was multiple sequences that I used, but this one in particular was kind of the best one. So what I would do is go out. Well, first of all, I would create that content, package it in a way that people can download and people can utilize very quickly. Then what I would do is, you called it a squeeze page. I call it a landing page. Same thing. It's basically a single page on your website that's geared toward driving conversions. So when they come there, you don't want, a whole bunch of links to podcasts or a whole bunch of links to other content. The sole purpose of that page is to drive conversions or people signing up to receive that free resource. Then what I would do, so we're kind of maybe taking a backwards approach to this, but I think that's okay. Then what I would do is go out, and if you have an email list already, send it out. But the whole point of this is to ultimately build your email list and start relationships with people. Again, yes, we talk specifically about list building. Excuse me. There's tons of content out there about list building. My focus is on how do I initiate a relationship. So it's that personal connection. That's ultimately what it's all about. So I would go out and create a Facebook ad. I love Facebook ads. They are one of the best ways today to be able to connect with people that maybe you don't have a connection with. So what I would recommend is go out, develop a Facebook video ad specifically, where it's you on the screen, or maybe it's even just you recording your screen where you're, in this example, it's kind of scrolling down through the email sequences, and then you're up and ready to go. So you launch your Facebook ad. It talks about the pain. Ultimately, people are going to take action because they have some pain in their life that they want to find, to solve and to find pleasure in. So number one, your content in that video should be related to the pain that they have and helping them solve that pain. So that's your content objective in that Facebook ad. Then it's get them to click through, come to the landing page, see what you have to offer that specifically addresses that pain, which in this instance, it would be, the pain would be that they're unfulfilled. They were me, honestly. They were me 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, where I was sitting in an office. I was doing the thing I loved, but there was still a level of unfulfillment, a level of unsatisfaction that was there. So I'm gonna have messaging specifically tailored to the Rohn 10 to 15 years ago. That's going to drive them to a page that would have been wonderful. I wish I would have had that 15 years ago.
Yep.
That could have helped me solve that pain. That then I come down to, and literally you give me your first name and your email address, and I send you the exact email sequence that you need to start utilizing. And not just that, so I'm going to deliver on what I said I was going to deliver on. Here's the content. But I'm also going to give them some specific tips above and beyond that. So again, it's setting the expectation that, hey, not only am I going to give you what I said I was going to give you, but I'm going to give you even a little bit more to help you find success. And ultimately with those lead magnets, it's quick wins. So with this, literally, you can copy and paste, you customize it a little bit, you drop it into your email platform of choice, and you're up and running. And literally within 30 days, you could have a six-figure contract.
Yep, absolutely. I love it. And so this is and the thing is you actually did this yourself.
Yes.
But the thing is you did this yourself to build a business where you help other people do this on a consistent basis. So that not only did you have your own, as you were developing this, I'm sure you ran into some obstacles in trying to perform this. You ran into some issues where things needed to be optimized, kind of changed and tweaked and stuff like that. So what I love is not only have you done this yourself and you've learned from it, but you actually did it yourself to successfully launch a business where you are helping lots of other people do this. Real quickly, since you started Rocket Hog, how many people have you helped, like big corporations and stuff like that?
Oh my, I don't even know the exact number.
I don't need the exact number. Just is it tens or hundreds or thousands? I have no idea.
No. Yeah, with the way that we do our business, so we're focused more on volume of customers and more on the high volume of single customers. So we've worked with around 50 different organizations, helping them implement these things.
But so what I want people to hear is like, wait a second, he's built this on 50. But these are 50 high ticket. I mean,
yes,
you're not at the low end of.
We're not talking a client where we do a $1,500 project. We're talking clients where the minimum of that client's going to be $36,000 of annual recurring income.
There you go.
So when you start doing the math on that, it's all about being very strategic. And yes, the content you send, but who you send it to, which is one of the big mistakes that people, when they start their businesses, whether they're starting consulting businesses or even an online business, they don't really know who is it that we're even trying to target with this content, which is one of the little additional pieces that I give people when they go to request the sequence. I give them the cold email sequence, but then I also give them literally the exact spreadsheet that I utilized when we said, okay, who are our ideal customers? They've got to match this matrix before we even reach out to them. So then we listed we created a list of customers that we specifically were interested in doing business with. I think that's one of the other really important things is that don't do business with people you don't like. Don't do businesses with people that you don't believe in their product or service. I mean, I work with some amazing people, both some of them are in higher education, obviously big believer in education, also just in wellness products. So, I mean, all these are people who not only met the criteria of, things like what their average sale is, their location, are they already marketing? Because if you're trying to go after somebody who they're not doing any form of digital marketing already, and you're trying to sell them digital marketing services, that's going to be a much bigger hurdle than somebody who's already investing in it, but they have no clue what's happening or am I even getting a return on investment? So when you start, and that's just a sampling of some of them, some of the criteria that we would look at to say, okay, who is our ideal customer? Who do we really want to work with? Now, okay, here's our cold email sequence. And yeah, to your point, the cold email sequence that we utilize today, that was years worth of work. Yep. Like I mentioned, we were able to start this business, but that was because of many, many, many years of experience of having marginal success, sometimes having no success and continuing to tweak it and then finally get it to the place where it is today. And I don't want to say that we could necessarily print money because that's not our goal. However, you could. I mean, for somebody out there who's just getting started, you could. I was talking with some friends a little while ago and they talk, why do you buy an airline ticket? Well, if you're going to fly from New York to California, why would you buy an airline ticket? To get there the fastest route possible, right? Because you could drive, or if you want to go a little slower, you could walk, ride a bike or walk, but you don't. So what this resource does for them is virtually getting them an airline ticket from, you don't have to learn all of these things. You don't have to have all the speed bumps along the way that I had where you're literally some days banging your head against your desk, just like, why isn't this working? What's going on? We have so much value to add to this person in this business. We've basically taken that all out of the way and given them a direct roadmap of here's how you go from here to there to launch your business, and you can get there in less than 6 months. And one of the other things with that is I always encourage people who were in my place where maybe they're working a full-time job right now, they're having a ton of success in what they're doing, but they're just extremely unfulfilled. The 6 months window is part of that is because we recommend that people do save up, that they save 3 to 6 months of income so they have a runway to be able to create that business where they don't have that crushing pressure of the financial stress, but they've got a 3 to 6 month runway. Well, if they have a 3 to 6 month runway and then they start utilizing these sequences and we can help them generate 6 figures in business in less than 6 months, well, they're in a really, really good place. That's a sustainable model to launch their business and continue to grow their business.
So as you can see, you've had this experience doing this yourself. And what I love is you've had the experience of helping these very successful companies ramp up and start to get to the place where they can not only just experience results, but actually know what results they're getting. So, for example, I did Free the Dream 2018, and for the very first time ever, I'm using Facebook advertising. And I do know that some of my Facebook ads landed people specifically on the sales page that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And I do know that there were sales that were generated from the original source. But for me, I'm not the kind of guy who knows or even cares to learn how to know exactly what was the cost of acquisition. I don't even know that stuff, and I don't even want to know. But here's the interesting thing is that I built my business. Okay, so the things that I experienced as facilitator of the Next Level Mastermind is I see all these people who have come in and they're asking questions about marketing and stuff like that. And of course, I have a lot of value from myself and experience. I'm a very direct marketer. It's like I may not know how to get cold traffic to my site in large mass quantities like Rohn does, but boy, if somebody emails me a question, dude, that's when I take over. And that's where I can add a ton of value. But, you know, I even had some preconceived ideas about my belief system about evergreen webinars and stuff like that. And the interesting thing is as Rohn kind of taps in this tag team that we all do in other people's hot seats with advice and wisdom based upon our past experiences, Ron's sharing insights and stuff like that. It's like, okay, maybe I'm starting to change my beliefs about this evergreen sales webinar. You know what? I think I want to move towards having one of those. Whereas I used to think that just the idea seemed disingenuous. I used to have like this. It's like that seems like a sleazy internet marketing tactic. This idea of having people attend your webinar while you're off at lunch with your wife. I mean, that seems sleazy. It seems so out of integrity. And it's like, wait a second, there's a different way of thinking about this. And by the way, there is a way to do that is sleazy, that there are reasons why I have that belief. And there are people who do it and they actually pretend that they're live. And I think that's sleazy. But there's another way to do it. And Ron, I've seen you do it. The interesting thing is that with all that you've brought to the table, it starts to get me thinking about, it's like, oh, I really should have been doing this all along. And I start to think, why haven't I? You know, because it's not like I haven't been around other people who are doing this. I mean, I've been doing life in the green room with Pat Flynn, Michael Stelzner, Ray Edwards, Leslie Samuel, Mark Mason. All of the guys in my next level or in my green room mastermind, these guys have all been implementing the tools and resources that you're talking about. But for whatever reason, I'm this solo guy doing my own thing, and I know that these things are. And over the years, I hear, Cliff, these are things you should be doing. This is something you could be doing, and I think I have a good excuse. And the reality is that from the time I left my career as an insurance agent and started my own full-time self-employed business journey, I never once left. When I was in insurance, Ron, I never said the question, I wonder what life would be like if I could be a podcast coach and consultant for a living instead as an insurance agent. Instead, I did ask myself this question. I wonder what life would be like if I could do this for a living instead of spending my 40 hours a week here in the insurance agency. And when I actually said the word "this" instead, what I meant was I want to entertain, educate, encourage, and inspire other people to take their lives to the next level. I want to help people make different decisions. I want to help people change their beliefs, to break free from limiting beliefs. I want to help people change their beliefs about who they are and what they're able to achieve. I want to help somebody who is miserable in their day-to-day life to go to thriving in their day-to-day life. Now, the thing is that I was doing that as an insurance agent, but quite frankly, it got to the place where I'm at the insurance office for 40 hours a week, and I'm going to just tell you that about 20 to 25 hours of that week, I was physically at the day job, but 20 to 25 hours of those week, mentally, I was somewhere else. I was preparing an outline for my next podcast episode. I was responding to countless numbers of emails of people saying, Cliff, I heard you say this, and it's got me thinking, hey, have you ever thought about this? How would you handle this situation? And I'm having a profound and powerful life coaching, mentoring relationship in the lives of these people. And so when I said, I would love to find a way to do this for a living, and then what I was saying is I would love to be able to do this, what I'm doing here, without the guilt of the fact that I should be working on customer service and sales, and instead I'm doing all of this while I'm still being paid 40 hours a week. How do I get rid of this distraction known as the day job? And so I didn't know what I didn't know. And so, well, what could I do? And I did podcast episodes, and people said, well, Cliff, you could do this, you could do that. And it just seemed like the obvious thing that people were falling over left and right to pay me how to do is, Cliff, teach me how to podcast. Teach me how to set up a podcast like you've done. And that wasn't my greatest passion. It was a gift. It was a talent. It was a skill. It was experience that I had, and it was an area of expertise. And quite frankly, I was excellent at it. Better than most people, as Gay Hendricks would say in his book, The Big Leap. And so I pursued that and it took me a while to figure out all the business things because I was not very profitable in my first year and a half. But I figured it out. I figured out how to be profitable as the podcast answer man. But I think the interesting thing was my goal and my mission, and I don't know that I've spoken these words out loud a whole lot, but my goal and my mission from the day that I left my insurance career was, how do I get by financially just to make ends meet in the littlest amount of time doing this, which was podcast coaching and consulting, so that I would have all the margin to allow me to do the content creation and interaction with people and have impact in their lives without feeling guilty about what that's doing financially to our family. And so when I think about all the years that I coulda, shoulda, woulda done things to grow my brand as the podcast, quite frankly, I've never had a desire to be the go-to person to teach you how to podcast. It's never been my dream. My dream was to mentor people and to do that. And so I think that has a lot to do with why why subconsciously I never pursued some of those things. And I, now that I know all the things that I know now, Ron, is I think there was probably a lot of the upper limit challenge as well. You know, I'd never been used to making that much money. I got to the place where here's a guy who made $87,000 a year in his most successful year as a career insurance agent. And I got to the place where I was making that much in a month, and that felt wrong. And if I already feel wrong for making $87,000 in a single month in my business, that's what most people. I mean, I was at $87,000 a year. I was already making more money than most other people that I knew, who, quite frankly, were working harder than I was. Mm-hmm. And here I got to the place with an online business. I'm making $87,000 in a single month. I should probably not do very much to make much more money, because this just doesn't feel right. And not that I ever believed that, you know, for one person to have this much money, that means somebody else has to not have money. Because
scarcity.
Yeah, I do understand how money and wealth works, but still I struggled with the idea of, am I worthy of making this much money, when there are so many other people who seemingly are more worthy of making money than I am, and they seem to be struggling. It doesn't seem right that I should be able to do it, and they aren't. So I did have some mindset issues that I recognize. So I think it's a lot of those things. But the interesting thing, Ron, about just having so many people come into the mastermind group, and they're like, hey, this is what I want to do. And you and I and a couple other people saying, well, this is what you should do. Because I know a lot of the things that you teach because I've seen it witnessed by other people. I've just never done it because of the two reasons, and maybe a few others that I just mentioned. But the interesting thing is I've ever since I made the transition from podcast answer man to, let's just say, mindset answer man, boy, I've been super excited about digital marketing and selling and creating automations, and it's jazzing me up. And by the way, I have no problem about making $87,000 in a month. And in fact, I hope to get to the place where that's just happening consistently. And that seems like, oh my gosh, we only made $87,000. What went wrong? That's the mindset I want to have about a year and a half from now. The interesting thing is, it took me 12 years to get Podcast Answer Man to the place where I allowed it to generate somewhere between $250,000 to $500,000 a year in revenue, with very little overhead. And I shut that down 1 year ago. It took me 3 months to completely replace all of that income with a completely different brand that goes in a completely different direction. And it has everything to do with this understanding how the email newsletter works, the sequences, the building of relationships over time and stuff like that. And that's why I'm saying, it's like, man, The value in a lot of that shifted when you came into the Next Level Mastermind, and it just every week, Rohn Gibson's mindset on digital marketing and evergreen funnels and all this other stuff. And so I wanted to share that with you.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
I want to share with you something that I'm excited about.
Sweet.
And so even today, if you go to cliffravenscraft.com, on the sales page, on the cliffravenscraft.com, this is my email opt-in today. It literally is, it says, get my best thoughts, insights, tips, techniques, and advice for free. An email newsletter that you'll look forward to. That's it. How about that? And of course, how many people do we hear say, oh, nobody wants your email newsletter? Well, about 3 to 7 people a week are signing up with nothing more than that messaging. So,
and just think, I think one thing that is so pure about the way that you're doing it is that's going to be a high quality list. You know, I think there's a lot of people who, you know, they take this lead magnet concept and they almost trick people to they're giving them something for free that they don't really offer value on in the back end or substance on the back end. So I think the way that you're doing it is such a pure way. So I would in reality say, well, yeah, I may do that a little bit differently, but at the same time, that is a very pure list because those are people who specifically want to hear from you. No gimmicks, no any of that. Just straight up, here's what you're going to get from me. So in reality, I think it's going to be a very pure list because it's not just about. I would rather have a list of 100 people who are really bought in and who are really big advocates and followers versus 100,000 people who were tricked in that aren't there at all.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, and I'm not afraid to. Matter of fact, I'll give you the exact number as of today, how many people are on my list. Because every time I send out an email, I do have people that leave because there are some people from the old days of Podcast Answer Man that still haven't opened an email for a while, but they're finally like, okay, Cliff, enough about your Next Level Mastermind. I'm out of here. So right now, 4,465 total subscribers on my list. But those are 4,465 people who say, Cliff, I know, like, and trust you, and I can't wait to receive an email from you. And quite frankly, it's about half of that open up everything that I send. Mm-hmm. And so,
yeah, and I think that's a great thing. You know, there's quantity and then there's quality. When it comes to list growth, you want to be more and this is kind of counterintuitive, but ultimately you want to be way more focused on the quality of your list than the quantity of your list. And that's a big mind shift because whenever you start talking about list building, it's always number. You know, the higher the number, the better. Well, as a digital marketer who's dealt with lists of hundreds of thousands of people, if that's not a quality list, you're literally wasting money by sending it to them. So that's awesome. And you're definitely focused on quality, which is the most important aspect of list building.
So I want to tell you about a funnel. My Cliff Ravenscraft, the very first ever official funnel. I think you would agree that I've had some unofficial funnels. You know, it's like the podcast is your introduction to the funnel. You get to know me over time. You may have actually funneled into the newsletter, which I'm giving you additional value. That newsletter oftentimes gets you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which gives you some more things. And of course, then occasionally I do get excited about a new product or service that I will talk about in the podcast, we'll talk about in the vlog, and we'll talk about in the new email newsletter. And as a result of several touches, you slowly start to think, well, maybe I might be interested in that. And then, of course, I do occasionally offer you a webinar to talk about specifically that thing or whatever. And then all of a sudden you make the decision to apply, schedule an interview, and you come in. So I've had marketing funnels. It's just never ever been written out on an email on a whiteboard, and this is exactly how I'm making it work.
Right.
But Ron, I think you're going to be proud of me. I want to tell you, and I'm going to reveal this to everyone. And by the way, I'm actually revealing to my audience exactly what funnel I'm about ready to put them in. I don't know if that's wise to do, but it's just who I am. So, you know, we had Free the Dream 2018, and you were there, and it was an incredible experience. Incredible experience. And one of the things, by the way, we have Free the Dream 2018 virtual ticket, which is going to be renamed. It's not going to be called the virtual ticket because, quite frankly, I paid in excess of $10,000 for the video production of what happened at Free the Dream. And have you gone through and watched any of the video replays?
I have.
So we're talking full on. This is television broadcast quality video production. We literally had a director on site that was directing the cameras and everything. So when I hear virtual ticket, I immediately think, well, these are just low quality, thrown together audio or video recordings, or maybe just the recordings of somebody's slides with the audio going. This is the standard fare of virtual ticket. It's the recordings of the sessions that you didn't attend when you went to the conference because you were having conversations in the hallway, or that conference had 85,000 other options for you to choose from at the time that you went to another session. That's what most people think of with a virtual ticket. And quite frankly, I think in my mind, the further I get away from last year's event and the closer I get to next year's event, it just seems like if I haven't gone through and consumed that video content recording, it just seems like it's losing value over time. And so I've determined that right now it's still called 2018 Free the Dream Virtual Ticket. That I need to figure out a new name for it. And Tony Robbins has these products, and I've purchased 3 of them. I've got Creating Lasting Change, I have Personal Power 2, and I have an audio version of Unleash the Power Within. Now, the closest thing that I can think of when it comes to Free the Dream, number one, any other event, Free the Dream is my version of an Unleash the Power Within event. And it just so happens that I have a audio recording that is just audio recordings of several of the teachings that Tony did at Unleash the Power Within, which was recorded 12 years ago. Now, the thing is I've gone to Unleash the Power Within twice, once in 2016 and once in 2018. And both of those talks, now the thing is the CD audio set that I have, the training program called Unleash the Power Within, is from more than 10 years ago. And it's exactly the same, almost word for word, what was taught at the event. And it's just as powerful for me to listen to today to those audio recordings from 10 years ago. And I listen to them on repeat at the gym. That's how I'm continuing to learn. So my thinking is that I want this to be called the Free the Dream product. And I don't know, part of me thinks, I wonder, should I have a different brand name for the Free the Dream online product than the conference name? But then again, I have Unleash the Power Within audio program, but I go to the Unleash the Power Within live events, and so I kind of looking at what Tony does, and I'm like, he has an audio program which is the training product that's hundreds of dollars, which is the same name as his conference, which I think could be of value. And then it's like, maybe I will leave it free. So there's, hold on. Okay, we're not doing this live. So I need to write down, I'm going to buy freethedream.online because I think you can buy that. So I'm going to do Free the Dream. You don't mind that I do this live here, do you?
No, go for it.
All right, so I'm going to buy the domain freethedream.online, and then there's freethedream.live. I love that. It's the distinction, right? Mm-hmm. And do they have a .book domain? Do you know?
I don't know right off the top of my head.
I bet you they do. I'll see if I can see Ron's looking it up to see if there's a top level. Because if they do, I'm going to get freethedream.online, freethedream.live, and freethedream.book. So Ron's going to look that up. So here's the thing. I know that I'm going to market this as a standalone evergreen product that will have what happened in 2018 was so incredible. And Ron, do you remember my opening keynote? The We Have a BS issue, which is the one where I did the thing with the trash can and something from my wallet.
Yes.
All right. So I'm specifically not giving too much away. You've been following me for a while, Ron. This is what I've been telling people. That opening keynote address from Free the Dream. Number one, the highest, most quality produced piece of content I've ever created in my life. Video production, audio production, me as a public communicator on a physical presence stage in front of an audience production. My opening keynote from Free the Dream is the absolute highest quality production of content I've ever done in my life. Would you agree with that statement?
I would.
Okay. Now, over the years, I've produced well over 4,000 or 5,000 pieces of content. If you can include all the audio podcast episodes, the vlogs, and all the other blogs, and all the other pieces of content. When it comes to the quality and impact of the actual content itself, like within a 1 hour period of time, this one piece of content has the potential of radically, profoundly, in 1 hour, radically changing the trajectory of someone's life forever. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely, no doubt. And I think, honestly, I was going to say you're doing a disservice to people by not packaging it in that way. I mean, really, by not packaging it in a way where people can come and get outside of the 2018, like this is bad, like this is, the longer it sits on the shelf, the less relevant it gets. That content is relevant all the time. So I think it's awesome you're going to do that.
So, but here's the deal. So Free the Dream online product, that's going to be the entire 17 sessions, which the first 6 are me, or actually this first 7 are me, but the first 6 are really a series. The 7th one was talking about mastermind groups, which is outside of the series of life change. But here's the thing. Even if nobody saw any of the other talks, my opening keynote alone, if they just saw that and didn't do anything else, it would radically change their life.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm going to, it's on my schedule for this Thursday. And this Thursday, I'm going into Kajabi and I'm creating a product that is nothing more than the first session, the opening keynote from Free the Dream online product. And I'm giving it away as an email incentive for free.
Wow. That's awesome.
I'm giving that from this point forward, Cliff Ravenscraft is finally going to have a lead magnet.
Woohoo! You go. And that's a whole nother level of lead magnet though. But that's incredible. The value that they get from that content. I mean, it's life-changing, it's life-transformational stuff. So not only will you get a quick win, but man, the content in there, if you can apply that to your life, you're going to get wins all throughout your life. That's incredible.
It is an absolute quick win, but it is an everlasting, ongoing win for the rest of your life.
It really is. That's awesome.
So imagine this. So for the first time, I am going to have a Facebook cold traffic worthy lead magnet. I'm talking people who have never heard the name Cliff Ravenscraft before, ever.
I'm so proud of you, Cliff, to hear you talking about a Facebook ad-worthy lead magnet. That is awesome.
Yes. So
yes.
And by the way, I'm working with a professional copywriter to write the sales copy on this. So there's going to be a professionally produced sales page for this lead magnet. And people it doesn't matter if they've never heard of me before, they will be enticed to get this first video for free, which of course, they'll sign up, they'll get the instructions on how to get into my Kajabi account, and they will consume it. Now, here's the thing, the nurturing of the relationship. I already envision how this is going to go. So the idea is that they're going to get the first free session. And I realize some people may never go beyond that, but the fact that people will get this and forever benefit, that just gives me goosebumps. I love that. It's kind of like I have over 30,000 people who have gone through learnhowtopodcast.com, which is an 8-part video tutorial on how to podcast. And that could have been that's one of those things my friends told me forever. This coulda, shoulda, woulda been an email incentive that would have generated. And then if you could have upsold them into other things, I'm like, I have no interest in that. But now I have interest, right? So here's the thing, Ron, you get the first stage, the first phase is they sign up for this free access to this video, which is the best thing I've ever produced in my life. It's the best of the best. And I'm so excited to give that to people. And the thing is I'm going to create a system so that I know when people, I'm going to create a way so that I know that people have watched this. So in Kajabi, I know there's a progress meter and stuff like that. And we're going to find out when somebody has completed that, they're going to get a tag in my email system, which will put them in an autoresponder sync. Now that you've watched this thing, I'm going to create like 7 different emails over the course of 10 days, if you will. And not to sell them anything else, but just to say, hey, remember when I said this? Here's an additional insight for you. Here's how you might implement this in this life. And it's literally going to be additional, even more value and more ways to expand what you already heard in that one thing. But then it's going to transition to, here's the interesting thing. This was amazing. I think you'll agree. But what you have consumed already was part 1 of 6. It's just the first step in an entire 6-part series of talks that I was so excited about that I created an entire conference for. And you can get access to the remaining 5 sessions of this series that will even expand this further. And of course, it's like how to change your belief systems, how to gain leverage. It's all of this stuff. And not only that, the people that have been the most influential in my life, Ray Edwards, Dan Miller, Giovanna Ellison, all of these people, Aaron Walker, you will also get the best insights about how they're implementing mindset change in their life. And so it'll be a $500 upgrade into the online Free the Dream online product. Now, here's the thing. Anybody who's received this has already received way over $500 of value just from what they got for free. So this is a total no-brainer upgrade into the online product. And once you go to the online product and you know that this is a part of the Free the Dream conference, and of course, I'm going to create it in such a way that inside of the online product, I'm going to create some kind of requirement that you have to obtain before you get invited into the Free the Dream family Facebook community. Because right now, to get into the Free the Dream Facebook family community on Facebook, you have to have attended the event live. But I do want to take people who've gone through the online product, but they have to have consumed so much from it and done something before they get invited. And then they'll naturally be brought in after they paid the $500, gone through whatever hoops. Then they'll go into the Free the Dream family. And of course, all of those people, it's just obvious that these are the people who are going to be the most interested in the next Free the Dream live event. Dude, Ron,
absolutely. Yeah,
I can't wait.
That is awesome. And you can even take that same thing and do, you're talking about automated webinars earlier. You could take that piece of content, turn that into an automated webinar, and then at the end of it, there's that special, a timed type discount where then people could go and sign up. But I mean, at $500, that is an absolute steal. Having been there live, and not only having been there live, but also having been in that community of people. I love that community of people. It's just awesome. I mean, they're inspiring. The massive action that people are taking, and there are some people who are taking more action than others. And for those that aren't, they're being inspired by those people who are, and it's like a vacuum kind of pulling them forward to take action. So massive, massive value. When that's available, I would highly encourage people to take advantage of it. The content, I like I said, I was there live, and I still go back and I've listened to several of the sessions over and over and over again because it's just such wisdom and value that was delivered in each one of those sessions. So
yeah, so I want you to know that you have influenced me in so many ways, and dude, I'm so excited to know this. And the cool thing is I'm almost at the place where I have as much financial margin as I did 1 year ago before I shut down all my podcast coaching and consulting. And so
that's awesome.
I'm literally going to be hiring a professional copywriter to write the sales copy for me. And I'm also going to be hiring somebody who will, instead of me, right now, I'm still at a place where I'm going to spend some time tomorrow and Friday as we're recording this, and maybe even over the weekend, I'm going to be setting up the initial stages of this quote-unquote funnel because I have the technical skill to do it. I know how to do it. I don't want to. It's not my zone of genius. It's not even my zone of excellence. It's the midsection of my zone of competence. But I'm going to do it and get it up and running. But by the end of this year, I will be hiring an individual that you and I both know, and I'll be talking about that individual in the future.
Awesome.
And I'm going to hire that person on a retainer basis to not only set up, but also optimize my funnels moving forward. And the weird thing is I can say funnels now without feeling any icky feeling. It's because it's like what I'm doing is the thing is, I need to get rid of some neuro associations I have with this internet funnel, sales funnel thing, and understand that what I really am trying to do is I'm trying to help people break free from a survival mentality in life, where they're working for the weekends or working for their vacations. But quite frankly, we all have so much opportunity to thrive in life. That's to be free to live a dream life. There's no reason. And when I think about that, I think about Nick Vujicic, who has no arms and no legs, who is absolutely thriving. He has an incredible marriage, has incredible children, incredible family, and is a best-selling author and speaks on stages of thousands of people at a time. And he has no arm. He was born with no arms and legs. And if that guy can see the opportunities that exist for him and move forward in his mindset and positivity and encourage and inspire people, then what is our excuse other than our belief system? And that is what my products are going to. It's like, Ron, I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you. It just reminds me of a quote Ray Edwards says. Mark. And I don't know if it's original to him or not, but he says, marketing is something that you do for people, not to people.
Yeah, and
I good.
He says he thought that he came up with that, and then he says, nope. I was going back through some Jim Rohn material. I got that from Jim Rohn.
Okay, awesome. Well, I would say you could insert your funnel, your sales funnel, and let's be honest, these are tools. They can be used to manipulate in negative ways. But they're tools, and they're also tools that can be used in abundance, in an abundance of positive way to actually get people to move from where they are to where they want to be, where ultimately God created them to be. So I'm excited. I'm excited for your funnel. I can't wait till that gets out there.
So check this out. You know how the Bible says that money is the root of all kinds of evil. It literally says money is the root of all kinds of evil. And I believe that. But money is also the root of all kinds of good. Money is the root of all kinds of greatness in the world as well. And so I think both are equally as true to one another, not one to the exclusion of the other. And so if you think about it,
we could talk about that for a whole nother podcast.
we could, and yes, we could, and maybe we will. So
absolutely.
But if you think about it, sales funnels are the root of all kinds of evil in this world. There are some people who use it to manipulate and try to drain every single penny out of people's pocket, whether they need or desire that product or not. They use psychological tools and manipulation to get people to buy things they don't need or shouldn't have, and specifically for people who can't afford it. And yet they use tools effectively for the root of all kinds of evil. But you know what? Sales funnels are the roots of all kinds of good, helping people break free, helping people to experience more financial margin, paying off debt that they never dreamed possible before, living a life of abundance where not only are they being able to meet their needs financially, but they're able to do things for their kids that they never dreamed possible before, and they're able to be that person, that neighbor who can go out and buy groceries or a car for a friend or something like that. Yeah,
and even time. If we're more financially set where we can work, 50% of the time and then give 50% of our time to organizations or people that we love and we care about that God's brought into our life, that's good. So, yes.
Ron,
the benefit of a sales funnel.
The benefit of a sales funnel. Hey, so I said that the title of this episode is not an interview format podcast, but I think I'm going to retitle this The Benefit of a Sales Funnel, because I think that's been the real leading theme and thread through this. Check this out. This I'm excited about. This was a conversation. This was a conversation with a friend, and it still has the benefits of everything that I wanted before. It introduces somebody to who Ron Gibson is. It wasn't an interview. It also, obviously there was some talk about your experience through the Next Level Mastermind and how we're using that tool for you and I to do life together, and how we're both benefiting from it. So it has that, but it has the same feel of, I get to talk about things that are going on in my business and in a conversation. This feels like the Cliff Ravenscraft show that I've come to know, like, and want to create for my audience. So Ron, thank you for allowing me on the fly. It's like I hit right before we hit the record button. I said, Ron, have you listened to any of the episodes I've done without? He goes, yeah, I've listened to them. It's like, yeah, I want to do something completely different.
And it was awesome.
It's fun. And the thing is I want to, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start bringing folks on and having conversations no different than I've had with Ray. I kind of like the idea. I still get to talk about what's going on in my business, but also I get the opportunity for you to chime in and these guys to chime in with what they think about it, or to ask questions. And that's really what Mark and Ray have done over the years. And the reality is there are a ton of people who follow Mark and Ray and Eric Fisher. Gosh, way back in the day with Eric Fisher, that it wasn't so much that I made a point to interview them so that I can. It's like hey, here's a friend that I'm talking to this week.
It's like we're sitting in a coffee shop having a chat.
Awesome stuff.
Love it.
I do want people to be able to follow you if they were impressed with some of the things that you said or share or things like that. Where can people get that free gift that you want to give them, that templated system that you created?
Absolutely. You can get that. Go to rongibson.com, and it's a little unique spelling, so I'll spell it. It's ROHN, so like John, but Ron, Gibson, GIBSON.com /Cliff. And the landing page will be there. You'll be able to put in your first name, your email address, and download those and be off and running if that's something that would add value to you. So
go check it out, my friends. Ron is a professional. He is an expert at creating effective, high-integrity sales funnels that will help you engage people and build a relationship where you can have a powerful and profound impact in their lives. And by the way, I have to be careful. I'm working with a professional copywriter right now, Ron, and I had a goal of filling every session or every remaining seat in the Next Level Mastermind by the end of October, which tomorrow is the final day in October. And I think I had 9 seats open between the AM group and the PM group because I had not marketed the Next Level Mastermind while I was marketing Free the Dream. That was a belief system issue that I had. I've gotten over that. I'm marketing everything like crazy now. Look out, people. I'm ready to sell stuff. I'm ready to change people's lives through the products and services I create. So the thing is he's working on a sales campaign which will start effective tomorrow. The thing is I'm working with this copywriter, which people hear a lot about him in the coming days and weeks and months ahead. Anyway, the campaign is to sell all remaining spots by the end of November. Now, when I hired him, or started working with him, there were 6 spots available between the AM group and the PM group. There were 7 spots available. But he's interviewing me. He's doing all his research, and then there were 6 spots available. And now as of right now, officially there are 5 spots available. And at 5:00 this evening, I have an interview, which may mean there's only 4 spots available. Right now, as you and I are talking, and I'm recording this, there are only 2 spots available in the morning session of the Next Level Mastermind. And after 5 p.m. today, I think there will only be 2 spots available in the evening session of the Next Level Mastermind. And that's without the benefit of any of the copywritten sales campaign that's getting ready to kick off effective tomorrow, written by one of the most incredible copywriters out there. I may have to start up another mastermind group if I get the response that I think I'm going to get. But right now, there's no commitment for a 3rd mastermind group. Ron, if somebody's hearing this, and I mean, why should somebody who's on the fence, who's been thinking about the Next Level Mastermind, why should they get into the AM or PM group of the Next Level Mastermind before this sales copy officially gets kicked off?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard question to answer because I could answer it for an hour plus, but ultimately, for me, I can say it's the best thing I've done for myself personally. It's the best thing I've done for my family. It's the best thing I've done for myself professionally. Surrounding yourself with high quality people who are achieving great things and who believe in you, are investing in you on a weekly basis. there's no problem. I think one of the things that people think about a mastermind is this all has to be about business. And while a lot of our conversation is about business, there's also a ton of conversation about just life. I mean, a lot of my best hot seats, honestly, have been about things I've been struggling with personally. And I bring that out to the group, and the group just breaks it down and encourages and gives clarity on what are the next steps that should be taken in that area of my life. And if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, there's only limited seating based on what Cliff just shared, and there's no guarantee of the next one. So I would encourage you, if you're even just thinking about it. One of the things I really appreciated about Cliff when I signed up was during that interview, he was just super transparent on, expectations, what you can expect. Are you really a good fit for the group? And if you're not a good fit for the group, he will tell you. It's not a sales pitch. It's hey, we want this group to be a high quality group, because ultimately the group quality is as good as the people who are in it. And I think Cliff is a master architect about getting the right people in the right seats in those masterminds. And I can say personally, it is the best thing that I have done. Honestly, I would probably even say in my professional career, that has helped me overcome things, that has helped me take strides that I never thought was possible. So if that's you, if you're in that place and you need clarity, you need encouragement, you need somebody to walk with you along the way, don't wait. Just go click on the page, go sign up, fill out the application, have that call with Cliff, and it'd be awesome to meet somebody in one of the future weeks in our mastermind who listened to this podcast and signed up, because it's an incredible group of people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, I have no qualms about marketing multiple different things, so I'm going to just tell you real quickly. nextlevelmastermind.info. nextlevelmastermind.info. Apply today. Don't delay. Trust me, by the end of November, there will be no spots available. So you can be put on a waiting list just in case somebody does have to drop out for whatever life reasons may come up, but nextlevelmastermind.info. The next thing I want to tell you about is I do not have a squeeze page, landing page, sales page for that opt-in for the free session just yet, but I have mentioned this last week. I mentioned it in a vlog, and people are emailing me left and right. You can do it too. Email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Put in the subject line, free session, and you will be the first person, you'll be on the list of the first people who are given access to the free session, that first opening keynote address from Free the Dream that will literally change the trajectory of your life. I promise you. I'll give you your money back if you don't, but I'm just kidding. I'll give you your email address back. I'll delete you off my list and say, I am sorry for wasting your time. I will, you know what, if you tell me, Cliff, this was not valuable, I will create a personalized video message apologizing to you for wasting an hour of your life for watching that video. I will do that for you. So if you want that free video, email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, put free session in the subject line. And then the third thing that I'm not afraid to market all here at one fair end of this podcast is, seriously, people, go to Rohn Gibson, RohnGibson.com/Cliff. RohnGibson.com/Cliff. Sign up, get this free templated system, study it, copy it, edit it for your own scenario, and put it to use. Don't do what I did. Wait for years before you start all this stuff. You can start benefiting from things that we coulda, shoulda, woulda done years ago if we could go back and talk to our earlier selves. Rohn Gibson, ROHN, RohnGibson.com/Cliff. Ron, it has been a pleasure to have a conversation with you, and I have no doubt in my mind it's the first of many to come.
Awesome. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Until next time, my friends, we encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.